You're listening to the Fix My Feet podcast. Solutions for every step in your journey with the nation's leading foot and ankle specialists.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fix My Feet podcast. Here today with myself and Dr. Leonards. How you doing, Evan?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Good to be here today. We're going to talk about a super common issue in the foot and ankle today, and that's plantar fasciitis or heel pain. Some people call it heel spurs. I'm trying to make sure I cover all the jargon that's out there about this stuff. Super common. There's probably, in our little town of Hastings, Nebraska, I bet there's 100 people right now walking around with plantar fasciitis. So really super common condition that we deal with every day. But today we want to focus on 5 quick things you could do at home that, if you think you have plantar fasciitis, you've read about it on Google and you think you have it, 5 quick things you can do that could really help you before you come and see one of us. These are things you could try at home. So number 1, real quick, we'll jump through these quickly, is wear the right kind of shoes. Don't go barefoot. What do you think about that, Evan?
Yeah, spot on. Well, I think invariably we get, I'd say at least 50% of the patients I get that come in with plantar fasciitis symptoms and pain, they did something, they went to the beach or they went to the pool or they went somewhere and they stayed at somebody's house for a weekend and they were barefoot a lot or wore sandals for several days. And they're like, man, then the next day my foot was just killing me and I can't walk on it now and it hurts so bad. And a lot of times just an extended period of walking around barefoot without any support is a tipping point to tip you over the edge if you're close to getting some symptoms for plantar fasciitis. So 100%, stay as far away from that as you can. Obviously, there's times you have to go barefoot. It's understandable, but if you have some supportive sandals and things to get you around, even in the warmer months, and if you can wear supportive shoes the majority of the time, it's going to benefit you for sure.
Yeah, so many patients came in like, well, I did an extra 2 miles this weekend. I felt something twinge in there, and then it kind of spirals into like chronic plantar fasciitis. So making sure you've got a good supportive tennis shoe that you're wearing. I've had plantar fasciitis before. And I tell my patients, if I feel even a twinge, like I put my tennis shoes, my really good tennis shoes on, and I just leave them on all the time until like it kind of settles down. I give my foot the support, but just continuing to go barefoot even after you're having the pain, you're just aggravating the plantar fascia over and over again. And that's where we run into this chronic cycle. So make sure if you feel like you've got it, get out your good shoes, go get a good pair of shoes, put them on, stay in them, give your fascia the right support, let things kind of calm down. That's usually the first thing that I tell patients. And even when they come and see me as part of the treatment is like, no barefoot time. Just let this thing kind of settle down. So
yeah. And if you don't know what kind of shoes to get, we've done an episode on shoes, or find a shoe store that's generally running type stores have great employees that can go through details. They can watch your gait. They can try and assist you with getting a style that will be good for, your biomechanics and things. So generally I know it can be cost prohibitive to get a good pair of shoes sometimes, but it's definitely worth the investment if you can afford it.
$150 for a pair of shoes is going to be a lot cheaper than injections and other things that come down the road when this gets into a chronic state, for sure. So do that. Number 2, and this is all over the internet. Patients come in, they've done this, so I don't think this is any groundbreaking stuff, but you got to stretch. It's just the bottom line. And it's all about the biomechanics of what causes and what puts stress on the fascia. So your couple cents, Dr. Leonards, on stretching with plantar fasciitis.
Yeah, stretching's big too. And it's one of the best ways you're going to keep it from returning once we get it to calm down for you. And just having a tight calf muscle is what you're stretching. So that is news to some patients because they're trying to stretch the foot itself where there's the problem. And a lot of times the problem is outside of the foot, and it's the calf muscle complex that gets tight. And you're not alone. That's a really common thing to have. It's a big muscle group. It's easily overpowers the front part of your leg and the front and lateral muscle groups. And it's been linked, through a lot of research to a lot of different pathology in the foot, not just plantar fasciitis. So stretching is a good thing for that, but it's also a great way to just be more flexible, be healthier. And it's also a way to hopefully avoid some of the other issues that can come along with, having that equinus or that tight posterior muscle group in that lower leg. So stretching is awesome.
And if you're curious about the types of stretches, man, they're all over Google, but they're the wall stretch where you're stretching that calf, get up on a stair, let that heel drop down, get into the kind of a kneeling position with your toes tucked up underneath you. But you can find good information on Google about what stretches you should be doing. The secret is just to get them done. I will say I've had patients get over exuberant and over stretch and then strain tendons or strain muscles. So it's not something when we say stretch, we're not saying you need to spend hours a day stretching. A few minutes in the morning, a few minutes at night doing these stretches will do wonders for you. And so make sure you stretch. It will greatly help you with the mechanics of the foot and offloading tension, which is what we're trying to do when we treat plantar fasciitis. So, all right. So wear shoes, stretch. Number 3 is ice. I mean, this is an inflammatory condition, especially if you get it early, like you're starting to feel twinges. You've got an acute inflammatory process going on. And so you got to ice. What do you think, Dr. Leonards?
And as this goes on, and if it's been happening for 9 or 12 months, the ice will still probably help somewhat during, a time where you've been on your feet more or something like that. But really, it's really important in those first couple weeks when you're noticing this, because that's when you're getting that acute inflammation. And when it gets over a chronic time frame, that's a little bit more, it's a different pathological state. But when you're in that first few weeks or that first month of that acute inflammation, the ice can really help calm down some of that inflammation and give you some pain relief, which then allows you to get through some of the other treatment methods that we'll talk about, including the stretching and wearing supportive shoes and things like that. If it hurts a lot, some people just want to wear, a Croc or something that's really cushioned. That feels nice on there, but it's really not doing them any good from a supportive standpoint. So the icing can be a big deal right off the bat for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. If you're like listening to this and you just started noticing heel pain, ice for sure. Get that inflammatory response under control. So, number 4 is massage. And I don't know if patients fully understand. Now, I know that patients see this on the internet because they come in and they say, I've been rolling the frozen water bottle on my foot, Dr. Waters. And so I know they have some conception of massage. But the reason that massage is so important is that what happens, as we talk about this, is it new onset plantar fasciitis or has it been going on for multiple months, is that the fascia tears a little bit and then it thickens with scar tissue and then it tears a little bit more and then it thickens again. And so if I'm seeing you several months later, your fascia is quite thickened, but down by the heel. And so it doesn't move, it doesn't glide, it doesn't do any of the things that it's supposed to do really well, but it causes you a lot of pain because first step out of the bed in the morning, you're stretching that fascia back out, even though it's thick and contracted, it doesn't really want to move. And so the only way for us to manually start to reverse that process is to have aggressive massage where we start to break up some of that fibrous tissue. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's kind of, the background of when people talk about shockwave therapy and things. I don't remember if you mentioned those on here yet, but it's trying to keep that area, break up adhesions, break up some of that scar tissue, keep the area mobile so that it's not as jarring of a change when your foot is going through its normal weight bearing process. And that massage can, during that process, also help incite, a response from your body for it to understand that there is damage here, there is tearing, or there is scar tissue formation, and attempt to heal that a little bit instead of just ignoring it, which is what can happen over long time periods with this where it gets to a chronic state. So yeah, massage is great, and it's something easy to do at home. You just got to be consistent with it. The massaging with the ice water bottle is a great 2-for-1. If you have a lot of people have, a massage gun at home now. They're pretty common.
Yeah.
Theraguns, any of those types would be pretty beneficial from that standpoint to just try at home. If you've got a thumb, you can use a thumb, just whatever you got, just to help kind of break up some of that scar tissue and give yourself a little bit of adhesion relief there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always tell patients, get something simple like a golf ball. Most people can get a golf ball for $1 to use, or go to the local pond and fish out a golf ball if you want to do that. But something really hard and firm like that will allow you to graduate the amount of pressure and the depth that you're getting with your massage. When it's really tender, you're not going to be able to push very hard, which is fine. We break up those more superficial adhesions. Then as things start to ease up, you can really start to push a little bit harder on that golf ball or the Theragun. You can go to an advanced setting. I think those are great. That's a great option. If you have a massage gun, you can go to a more, advanced option to get some of that deeper adhesion and scar tissue broken up. But getting the foot gliding and moving again and acting in a more normal fashion is going to greatly help you especially with preventing recurrence and long-term, outcomes, not having this like chronic cycle where you feel better and then, you start walking in your sandals again and doing your stuff again. And then all of a sudden you're hurting again, and you just keep going on. And that's an awful cycle to deal with for patients. So, last thing, just some last one, things we can do, medication wise. We threw this in here. But the best kind of medications for this are usually anti-inflammatory medications. Dr. Leonard's a review maybe of some of those that patients might be aware of or not aware of. That might help.
Most of the main categories you're going to see is either some type of an ibuprofen, whether or not you're just taking like a Motrin or something like that, or some dosage of Tylenol. There's other things. I believe Aleve has some different anti-inflammatory medications in it, but they're all basically trying to do the same thing, which is they're non-steroidal. So they're not like a prednisone or anything like that. They're just trying to calm down some of that inflammation. The important thing to remember with those is, moderation is key. Don't overdo it with these. They can be hard on your liver, on your kidneys, on your GI system, depending on what you're taking. So if you have any history of bleeding in the esophagus or the stomach or anything with the GI system, make sure that you talk to a primary care provider before you start taking these medications, because they're not benign. They can have some issues associated with them, but taken appropriately, they can be great for just general musculoskeletal pain and inflammation. There are anti-inflammatories that we tend to prescribe, if you come and see a provider, that can be a little bit easier on the system. They don't have to be taken as frequently, and they're a little bit stronger. So those are an option too when you do end up coming to see somebody about your heel pain. But generally over-the-counter stuff does work well, but it has to be used in conjunction with these other treatment modalities that we're talking about, because by itself, it's going to mask it for, an hour or two, and then it's really not going to do much more than that. So.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it's an adjunct. It's not, you can't just like take a leave and expect to get complete relief and be done with plantar fasciitis for sure. It's an adjunctive therapy to help, control pain while you do all the stuff that you need to do to get better from this. So the other thing, just real quick, there are some topical forms of anti-inflammatories out there that some patients really like. Voltaren gel seems to be the most common one that I see in the store often. But there's BioFreeze. I'm trying to think of things that patients might see at the store. BioFreeze is there often. I think Aspir Cream's got a couple different topical things. So no harm in trying the topicals. I mean, they have less penetration than an oral medication, so you don't get as much in the bloodstream. But again, if you have, some medical conditions, that's something you should definitely be talking to your primary care provider about before you jump onto those medications or get in the start using those topicals on a daily basis. There are some side effects, as Dr. Leonard has talked about, GI and kidneys and things. So those are discussions you should definitely have with a primary care provider if you're going to go on a regimen of anti-inflammatory medication. So, but those I think are 5 quick hitters, things you can do at home. We're not going to get into advanced modalities. We'll do another podcast on advanced treatment modalities that we use in the office to treat heel pain. But if you're at home, if your first few steps in the morning, you're like, man, it's like knives in my foot. And if I stand for any longer than, an hour, I got knives in my foot around my heel. These are 5 quick things that you can start doing at home that I think could greatly benefit you. And a lot of times if we catch it early, that might completely resolve it. And that might be the end of it. So good shoes, stretch, ice, massage, and as needed here or there, some anti-inflammatory medications might help dampen the pain for you and keep you moving. Anything in addition to what we've talked about, Dr. Leonards?
I think that's a good start. And a lot of times people are smart to do their research at home. We see a lot of people try several of these, but a lot of times by the time they've come in, they've tried several of these, but kind of consecutively. They don't try them all at once. And I think that's an important thing, is that it's kind of a group effort when you're trying to treat heel pain. You got to try all this stuff at once, and you got to stick with it, because it can take a little while to calm down.
Agreed. And just so people that are listening are aware, I think the latest large cross-sectional study that they looked at, that was the recommendation they walked away with, is that, bad heel pain requires a multi treatment approach. So you can't just do one thing here. You're going to have to do a few things together at the same time to address the issues and get better. And so that's usually what we talk to patients about as well. So very good.
Nice.
All right. Well, if you got heel pain, make sure to try these out. If it doesn't work out, we'll be happy to see you in the office. Check us out on our social media outlets at Platte River Foot and Ankle on Instagram, Platte River Foot and Ankle Surgeons on Facebook and TikTok, or check us out with the podcast page, Fix My Feet, on Facebook as well. Until next time, this is Dr. Waters and Dr. Leonards, the Foot Fixers, and this is the Fix My Feet podcast. Hope everybody has a wonderful week this week.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Fix My Feet podcast. To schedule an appointment with one of our providers, visit www.prfootandankle.com.